very much, Sue, and good evening, everybody. I'm going to introduce you to the Sapphire Team. Before I do, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the area that we service. The main town that we cover is called Pershore, which probably is somewhere you've never heard of before. In the last census, there were about 7,000 people living there, and it's just towards the edge of the Cotswolds, on the banks of the River Avon. And it's not really noted for very much at all about, really, it's just about plums and pears. It's a market gardening town. There's lots of Georgian architecture. We have low crime rates. We're very lucky. 92% of the people that live in Pershore were born in England. 98% speak English as their first language. So we really do lack ethnic and cultural diversity in the area. But the population is in really good health on the whole, and it's one of those happy places to live. So that's a little bit about our area and our demographics. In April 2019, we launched Sapphire Team with our sister team at the time, Ruby, which services a very different type of demographic in a different area of the county. 8 of us volunteered to be part of the team, most of us from a community background. 2 of our midwives at the time came straight from the unit. Our first task was to find an office, and we found one completely off an NHS site on the location of a little school in town. But we quickly found out that actually we didn't really need to use it as an office, and it's now become a bit of a glorified stock room. We do have a couple of desks in there, and of course the odd packet biscuits lying around. But really, when you go in there, you'll be greeted with home birth boxes, our birth pools, and boxes of syringes and needles and things like that that we need for our everyday clinic bag. We don't have a clinic, we don't have a clinic room, but we are fortunate enough to have a children's centre still in our town, which is attached to the school, and we can use it if it's more appropriate for us to meet our women or some of our families there. We have a mixed caseload. I think when we started, we thought we would just be looking after women who receive universal care, but it suddenly became clear that with postcode lottery debates that go on in healthcare, that it was only fair to offer our service to everybody in the town. So we do. We have women with more complex needs, as well as women with multiple births as well. So how do we deliver our care if we don't have a clinic? Well, we're really privileged that our women and our families welcome us into their homes. We deliver all of the antenatal care in their homes, which really enables us to walk the walk with our women. We can enter their headspace. We understand what their needs are. We get to know their family members, their cats and their dogs, and it really becomes clear to us what their aspirations are for their birth and their transition to parenthood. It really is an utter privilege. It really helps us to identify safeguarding issues too. So there are many advantages to working in our parents' home. I think they tell you more in that sort of environment than they do if they're coming out of their home environment into the clinical setting of a clinic. We triage our women at home when they call us to say that they are in labour. So we don't triage them for everything at home, but certainly for labour care we do. And this has been amazing. Obviously, sometimes it makes more clinical sense to actually just meet them at the unit when you hear that it's what we call one of our hot multips and things are obviously progressing quickly. We don't want to waste time going to their home and then driving to our unit, which is about 15 minutes without any traffic. So triaging women in labour at home has enabled some women to make the decision to birth their babies at home, which they may have not really considered before. We have an ongoing discussion with our women about their place of birth, which is absolutely great. But there have been at least 2 occasions I can think of when it's come to the day and we've offered women, should we go to the unit now? And they've just decided, no, they're quite happy where they are. So we've had lovely home births, unexpected home births that way. We obviously, we meet our women in the unit if they're choosing a unit birth. We try to be there for all our elective caesarean sections. We try to be there for our induction of labours too. But then if our essential visits are taking up the time when a bed is available on the antenatal ward for that induction. We're really lucky that our broader team, those that work in the unit and on the wards, will cover us for that, and they're very understanding and facilitate that care for us when we can't be there. We try to get to the postnatal ward to visit all our women postnatally. Most of the time this happens, but again, in the unexpected world of midwifery, sometimes something crops up, and again, rely on our fantastic wider team in the unit to provide that care for us. And then we always try to discharge our women home too, so that we're clear about their ongoing plan in the community. What has really made our team work? Well, we have complete autonomy over the way our team works. We run our diaries. We don't have a manager. We have a team leader who is absolutely incredible, and she's one of us because she has her own caseload too. And I don't know how she manages it, but she leads not only our team, but she leads another continuity team and 2 community teams as well. So she's always there for us to go to when we can't come to a conclusion about something within our team. We just need someone to make a decision because we've been going round in circles, being far too polite and not able to make a decision ourselves. She does our yearly appraisals and all those other things that come with being a team leader. We've not been frightened to change things. Of course, what we started doing is really not what we're doing now, and we've always made little adjustments along the way. That may be in terms of our off-duty or just the way that we work together. And because we've not been able, because we don't actually have to go through someone to make these decisions for us, when we want to make a change, we can just say, right, from next week, this isn't working anymore. We're going to do it a different way. And it really gives you a great sense of ownership and really draws the team in together. We really take time for each other in our team. We know each other really well now. Our team has changed a few times over the last couple of years, and we've definitely noticed that we've gone through those different team formations of, just starting together and then growing and then storming ahead and then performing all those great theories about team formation. We definitely have been through that every single time. What has really helped is that we always have time for a weekly meeting, whether that be via Zoom, Teams, or if we're able to do it safely face-to-face, because there's just a few of us that week. Because working in continuity can sometimes feel a little bit lonely. You often don't see your teammates for several days. So having a weekly meeting has really helped bring us together, discuss our caseloads. We reflect on what's worked well and what hasn't worked well in birth situations during the week. So we continue to learn from each other all of the time. Communication, of course, is the very foundation of successful teams, and we always know that we can improve a little bit there. We use Teams to communicate. We've got different folders for caseloads. We've got a daily folder for essential visits. We have our own birth register, which is really nice to flick through. Or if you've been off on annual leave for a week, that's certainly the first place I go to make sure I haven't looked up and haven't missed any of my women's births. They're always under strict instructions not to have a baby when I'm not there, though. And we all take on extra roles as well. So, for example, my job is to coordinate with the students in the university too. So we have a buddy system. So my buddy midwife and I, we try not to have annual leave together. It doesn't always work, but generally that's what we try to do. And we've got a really great variety of skills in the team. There are some of us who have more knowledge in the community area, but then we do have 3 of our team members who have worked in the unit far more extensively. So we can draw in on each other's expertise, and it's been such a useful thing and really helps the team to flourish. We're very strict about having time off. When it's your days off, we make sure that our phones are diverted and switched off. And it's very easy, isn't it, in this world where communication is going on all the time. But I think for your own well-being, it's really important that we look after each other. We don't call each other just to let people know things on the days off. They are sacred. And we also have a named consultant, and that works really well. We know that we can just drop her an email And, just sometimes for those silly things, you just want to know, what do you think about? And she's really responsive, and we have a really great relationship with her. So that's something I'd really advise when you're setting up your own continuity team. Of course, we have had challenges along the way. We're really lucky. We're nearly 2 years in now, and I think our team works exceptionally well together. But of course, in the early days, there's so much going on. It wasn't really like that. And I think the biggest challenge, speaking personally for me, was that shift in mindset from working in a traditional community model to now working in continuity. So in your traditional community model, when you have really busy clinics and your head is spinning at the end of the day, going home worried that you've forgotten something because you've seen 15 women that day, to now I've got 2 or 3 women who are due a month. And it's almost unlearning everything that you've learnt before in that traditional community model. Another challenge, the scope of the role sometimes is overwhelming, because you're providing continuity of care from almost when that stick turns blue to discharging your family off into the wilderness of parenthood themselves. I think you can put a great expectation on yourself to know absolutely everything. But we really do rely on our wider team in the unit to help us with this. I don't think a week goes by when we don't phone our day assessment unit or triage to ask their advice, or just to help us to remember a guideline, which, as we know, can change far too frequently for me to remember. Not just me, I think other team members too, but it's very difficult sometimes to keep track of things. So we do really rely on them, and we do see ourselves as an extension of every single team in the unit. So what we do though, and we pride ourselves as being experts in our women and their families, and we garner all of the support from our continuity team and our in-unit colleagues. We're the conduit of care, so we make sure that all the services that woman needs, that we orchestrate those to provide the best care for her and her baby. So it's really difficult to describe really what makes continuity happen, but there is some real magic in the depth of relationship that you have with a woman and her family. And it's really beyond articulation. It's when you're trying to describe a feeling to someone and those words don't come. I know that sounds really soft, and it sounds a little bit twinkly lights and whale music, and I am a little bit partial to that sort of environment. But we know it works. It definitely works for our women and our families. And if you always put them in the very centre of what you do and how you work, that is when the magic happens. And we know it happens because of our hard and soft results. And by that I mean the hard results, our outcomes, our birth outcomes. Definitely I can see that our home birth rate is much higher than traditional care. Our section rate, I'm pretty sure, is lower. Our instrumental rate is lower. And I think our breastfeeding rates are maybe a little bit better too. And the soft results is the feedback that you get from women and the gratefulness. If you want to look at our Facebook page, our Team Sapphire Facebook page, it's often full of really wonderful feedback from the families. And there's a little bit of ego comes into it, but actually, you're doing a really good job, and women really do appreciate that you or your team have been there for every step of the way, listening to them and providing them with the kind of birth and the early days of being a parent as they've wanted and they've dreamt of. So that's how our Sapphire journey has been the last 2 years. We've had changes. We've loved our changes. It's not always been easy, but actually, if you remember what it's all about, and it's all about those families, then yeah, there's a little bit of magic every day.
Thanks for watching this video from the Maternity and Midwifery Forum. For more expert opinion and analysis, hit the button below to subscribe.